making something.
Oopsies.
Oops! Oh no! Oops! Oopsie doopsie!
What are you making?
Accidentally had a really good idea.
That's going to happen to you throughout your life. You just
And
can't,
decided to execute on it.
That's also going to happen to you.
So, oh god, it might have been Tuesday or Wednesday. I was on the sofa and I texted patron saint of the show, Anya.
Hi, Anya.
And I was like, I know I would use this, but I texted her and I said, if you had a tool or service
Carry on.
where you could record a piece of audio directly into your browser and then share that either via embed link or as just a link you could share, would that be useful? I wanted it because of the stuff I'm developing. I wanted to be able to have... I use a tool called Notion, and one of my little freebies is a big Notion template, and there's a lot to it. And I want to be... I did some videos before, but it was a bit cumbersome and it was a bit much, and video is a whole thing. And I thought, how nice would it be to just have a little bit of audio that explains, like, here's how you can fill this bit of this template in.
Yeah.
And it's just there within Notion. You just hit play and it's great. And I didn't want to clutter up another, like, could do it, you know, yeah, there's ways of, like, I could upload it to somewhere and I didn't want to do that. And I started thinking of a couple of other little use cases and ideas, and I was like, I would use it. And I wonder if my friend Anya would use it. And she was like, yeah, I'd use it for this, this, and this. And yeah, was up late last night doing the push to the cloud. But I have a tentative, bare bones, very first version of it.
So where I feel like storage would be an issue.
Storage is very cheap.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah, cloud storage is real cheap. What you pay for is the download of the data. You don't really you pay fractions of pennies to store it. What you pay for is the movement of that data for every time it's downloaded. You know, so for Podiant, I think I had Podiant being my previous software as a service business. I made about 4 times the storage cost, I think.
Okay.
Which is not a super great return on investment. And I think there were reasons for that. And it might be, I think that was about right. And that was infrastructure, and that was all the storage. And that's because I had some, not many, but some who just had like 80,000 listeners for every episode. So that's a lot of downloading. Something like this, by nature of it, I don't think it's going to
like 2 downloads per thing. Yeah.
Like it's, I mean, well, for the sort of messaging thing, yes, it's not going to have a lot. But then for people who are embedding it in other materials, then it'll use more. But like, I think it's all doable. The other cost that I'm tracking is transcription, because in the year of our Lord 2024, you cannot release something that has the voice without transcription. You just can't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a very good legal reason why not legal, but a very good accessibility reason why you maybe wouldn't want to. But you know, so that's in there.
That's just part of the course now.
Yeah, exactly. But luckily that's fairly cheap, and it has to be done once. So it's fun, and I'm not betting the farm on it. You know, I'm not looking. It doesn't have to be the next big thing. It's not like the work that I was putting into Bramble. Yeah, it's a good idea. There's lots of other little. I mean, I've actually got a client who has wanted basically this exact product for the last couple of years, and has sort of jerry-rigged it into other systems. And so, there is like a enterprisey kind of core for it, but I'm not fussed about that at this point. I just want to have fun with it and build little features and stuff like that, like I used to.
That's awesome.
And we'll see where it goes.
That's super cool. And can I ask about monetization?
Yeah.
Is there? I mean, it feels like kind of too early, but I'm curious if is there a plan for it, or is there is this kind of like one of those cool internet free tools that just costs you money?
No. There is a lot of it is kind of modeled on Loom. So Loom is a service.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, where you download a little taskbar or menu bar app, and it lets you record your screen.
Lock the taskbar.
So yeah, you get this app, and it sits in your menu bar, and it can record your screen and your camera and your mic. And so you can very quickly send little screen videos and screen shares and stuff to people. And I was using it for a bit. You get, for the free plan, you can record up to 5 minutes and 20 videos. And I was using it so much, and it's just so good for the sort of work I do, because it's so great to be able to just be like, oh, I need to explain a thing to you. Here you go. And it takes me 2 minutes. And, the video is uploading while you're recording. So it's phenomenal how it works. But by the time you finish the recording, the video opens in a new browser tab, and it's just there. It's just instantly there.
Amazing.
No idea how that happens, but it is just instantly there. And you can just share that and do whatever you need to, embed it in Notion or whatever. And I do a lot of that. And so, yeah, their model's like $15 per month for unlimited use.
Okay.
So I figure 9, 10. So free for 30 minutes. You get 30 minutes for free. And then after that, if you want to keep record more, so it's like a storage limit, if you like. Yeah. If you want to record more, then you pay.
Amazing.
Simple.
That's simple. That's great.
And I'm playing around with where I put it in terms of how the infrastructure gets run, and it's trying to run it leanly and inexpensively and not over engineer it, which has been a thing. And just have fun with it. Have fun with the idea, play around. The interface is for when you record, because this is stuff. A lot of this code I stole from Bramble. A lot of it is stolen from Bramble, because this is the wonderful thing about being a developer is over the years, I think Bramble. I don't know technically if I probably took some code from Podiant, but Podiant took some code. Its seed was born out of a project I was doing for a radio station, which was born out of something that I'd done for another radio station, which was born out of something I did for a podcast network, which was then born out of a startup that I did. I can almost trace back ideas and lines of code from 10, 12 years ago, when I first started working with messing around with audio and video. When I realized I could do that, that was a thing that you could do on the web. Is manipulate audio and video. I was like, "Ooh, this is something I have to do." So
it's like the evolution graphic. Each thing just kind of comes from the previous.
Yeah,
very nice.
It's fun to be because I tell you what, sometimes the evenings draw on, and I'm just like,
I want to make something.
I don't want to sit and watch TV. Sometimes I'll sit and play a game, and sometimes I will force myself to do nothing. And I think I might just concede. I'm not a habitually do nothing in the evening guy. I'm just Same. Gonna I think I was trying to be that guy for ages, but I'm just gonna say I'm not that guy.
Yeah, I wonder if I don't know if it's a 9 thing or just something else that we also share. But the lack of productivity can really get to me. It's I want to do, and I know it's not just the capitalistic drive that try to pushes all people to like, you have to be productive in order to be valuable. Like, I know it's something beyond that, because I feel that, and that feels different to me. That in a way feels gross, but this other thing feels like purpose. It feels like, almost divine or something, like pushing me. Like, I want to make a thing, and I want it to be good, and I want to do it for fun. And it's important. Just even if it's just like changing the trim in my living room, I want to do it right, and I want to do it. I want to do something. And I see that same thing in you.
Yeah, I was having a chat with a lady called Kim a couple of days ago, because I identified some behavioral patterns, or some maladaptive thinking patterns, just unhelpful thinking styles. And it was interesting to look at certain projects, because I had this bee in my bonnet about feeling like certain work I've done deserved a bigger audience, and being like bent out of shape about it. And one of the interesting things as I was talking it out was, I don't feel that way about list envy. I don't. So list envy being my other weekly show, and I every now and again I'm like, it'd be, I want more people to hear it, and then I go, but I don't want to change anything about the show, really. I've changed a couple of things, and I'm still trying to let it find its voice, but ultimately I want to make the show that I want to make, and actually that intrinsic motivation, the amount of joy that it gives me to make the show that I want to make, and know that the people I speak to like it. Like, I know it has people who like it. Because they tell me that. And people who are also professional people in the medium say that it's good, and it's like, it's, it ticks those boxes. Like, and I know, like, it's a, I spend time on the edit, I care about it and stuff. And she was sort of, as I was chatting to Kim, it was like, like, I guess if I think about a lot of those other things, it really is, and it's a tale as old as time, external validation. And I thought about, and we may have talked about it, the confidence that I used to have in Podiant. And I think it came up actually when we were talking in a previous episode about me not being able to get arrested in this town. The confidence I used to have in Podiant, knowing I knew it was, from a user interface perspective at the time, it was the best.
It was.
There weren't other. They would come along and others would improve and iterate on the idea, but like, it was me and one or two others, and I think I did the better job from a user perspective of, like, there was the Dan Benjamins and one or two others, and I think I, like, from the UI perspective and the feature set, like, I could confidently say I think this is the best one, and I could kind of hold my head up high with that. And I've lacked that level of confidence in what I've done for the last few years. Really have let that internal being able to, like, I don't know, like, fight me, fight me. I will tell you this is the best. Come on, fight me. I have not had that over the last few years. A lot of it is like, I think I can do this. I think I can help in this area. And it's not a question of ability, because, like, again, in that episode, I talked about, like, I know I can help, but then it gets to the, you asked me a very pointed question, which was like, can you though?
That wasn't exactly my question.
No, it wasn't. But it was.
But that's how you hear it, feel it.
It hit enough. Because I was like, that's my greatest fear. Oh man, I have the confidence with something like List Envy to go, it's a good show. Like, it's a good show. Doesn't have to be the best podcast that's ever existed. Doesn't have to be for everyone, but I know it's a good show. Like, we don't waste your time. We get in, we have fun. and we get out, and the episodes are as long as they need to be, and that's improving, and I'm cutting stuff because I want I can confidently say again, like, that's a good show, you should listen, you'd like it. And that level, I've missed that, I think, and I wonder if part of what I've been doing for the last few years is finding that, because there's stuff I know I can do from a I can do that, but then you're competing and this, that, and the other, and like that's the other thing as well. Sorry, I know I'm all over the place, but looking at something like this little project, what's fun is, well, if I look at Podiant versus Bramble, Podiant at the time, because of what we were doing, and because there were only a couple of other companies that were actually looking at the user experience of podcasting, it didn't feel like competition. Like, it felt like breaking new ground. It felt like creating a new space. That
makes sense.
And that feels like doing that again now. Even though it's it's just a bit of fun, and I'm gonna definitely spend too much time on it, because I know myself.
I know that. I know how that goes.
But I'm hopefully going to do it because it's energizing, not because. Well, no, I am going to do it because it's energizing, not because it has to work. And so yeah, from Podiant, that's fine. And then I went to Bramble, and I really had to work harder than I was maybe prepared to, and I didn't really have a satisfactory answer to what makes you different and better. Well, what makes you better? And it's like, but it's mine though, because I did it the way I wanted it, which is not, because
it's not a sales pitch.
I already found a really good host, and that's the thing. Like, I kind of just wanted to do it because I wanted to do it, but I did, and looking at this, it's interesting. I tell you what, it's funny. Competition in general. I tried to get out of the podcast editing game fairly early because I saw that it was starting to feel too competitive, and maybe there's a lot of avoidance there that I'm just like not willing to compete. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel you with the podcast editing. I got out of that too. Just like, and now I just do like the projects I love that happen to come to me. I still get people coming to me. Like somebody, can't remember if I told you this, but somebody found Podcast Advocate Network on LinkedIn, a nonprofit, and apparently I linked to my Wix page, my Podcast Advocate Network Wix page from there, which I didn't even remember making because shortly after I'd made that page, Podiant created the network's pages. And I switched over to the Podiant page and made that my for sale, my selling website for the podcast services, editing services and whatnot. And I completely forgot that the Wix thing was there and that I had linked to it. And so somebody like checked that out and then emailed me, surprisingly, because they were looking for a podcast editor, and that was great. And I was like, oh, this is wonderful. How did you hear about me? I didn't think I was on the internet anymore. And they're like, oh,
I thought I'd scrubbed myself.
Yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, this is how. And so I went back and looked at the Wix page. Oh boy, it was thrown together. Just like, wow. I mean, it was, I don't really recall too many like typos, but it was not really like edited or concise or like a good sales pitch. It's really flashy. It's got tons of colors. It looks very web 1.3. It's just like kind of like, oh, it was kind of gross, but funny. And anyways, it was a walk down a non-memory. Oh yeah, I'll have to link to you. And it's not. Oh boy! If you were to do a screencast of going through that, you would have a lot of notes. It is, yeah. Anyways, so that was funny, and I didn't get the job. But yeah,
No.
doing. I mean, I don't know. It's a nonprofit. They take a long time. They might still get back to me, but it's been like a week or two since I emailed them back what my price is, and it's probably like because I told them what my price is now, which is different than what my price was then, and but the only thing that they really have to look at was, I told them I linked to like more of the projects that I've worked on. I linked to my Podchaser IMDb page and everything. And so like I have more to show, but it was also like their first impression of me was that trashy website. And so, anyways.
I'm on it, by the way. I found it.
Oh, you found great. Oh no. What do you think?
It's fine. Like it's
yeah, it's fine. Yeah.
It's absolutely fine.
Right.
There's some, there's some
I guess I have a higher
2016 unsplash images, but apart from that, like it's, and you made it then. So like,
it just feels like a product of its time.
Can't fault you. Yeah.
Yeah. I probably made it out to sound worse than it was, but like, I mean, obviously the person contacted me.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so I thought it's not how I would want to represent myself now is I guess more how I feel about it.
2017, there it is.
All that was to say, like, yeah, I just want to work on the projects I'm really passionate about. Like, I love working on You're Great, which I edited this morning. Do you have a name for this new audio widget? Yeah,
so I bought a domain name a while back because I have a disease, and so I bought because I was going to do something, and so I bought the domain name Naro.fm, Naro.
Wow.
And so,
you do have a disease.
I mean, if you can find a 4-letter domain name, fucking take it. So, Naro. That'll be awesome. In my continued lineage of creating audio-based products where I have to explain how to pronounce them. Because everyone's going to go, Naro? It's just Naro. But I know everyone's going to, like, lots of people are going to be like, Naro? What's Naro? I don't know why everybody's suddenly got an American accent. And they're a mean girl from California, apparently. What is Naro?
Naro. I would call it Naro.
Naro, yeah, exactly.
Because the O makes the A sound.
I would have thought so.
Yeah, that's what I would think.
Like
but then
Nero,
I thought it was Podiant when I first...
Yeah, exactly. Which,
because of podcast.
Because of podcast. Because famously, because of the word podcast, of course. Yeah. Well, interestingly, so I won't reveal too much because it's not my story. But like one of the other use cases was a conversation we're having today about. Well, I'll without all the unnecessary context. The ability to gather a bunch of audio messages that you can present to someone and say, here, we thought of you.
Ooh.
Here's a lot of things people wanted to say about you.
Oh, that's sweet. When I did this twice. When I proposed to Margaret, I reached out to a bunch of friends and family to record a little video of them answering a few questions for me. And ultimately I didn't want to just ask Margaret's father for her hand in marriage. I wanted to ask kind of like everybody that we knew, like,
yes, I remember,
because I felt a little bit like, it wasn't early, but we both kind of felt like we kind of wanted to move things along in our relationship. And when I was in my previous marriage, I didn't look for or feel like I received that kind of outside feedback of if this is a good decision. Like kind of like my first wife and I just made the decision on our own a year into being together. Actually like less than a year, 10 months, I think. And then we just told my mom and sister that it was going to happen. And we were not open to any discussion about it. It was just like, hey, we're doing this. And like the reasons we gave were like, it's smart fiscally. Like she can get her FAFSA signed. Like her parents won't sign for student loans to be able to be processed. So if we get married, then she can do her own student loan applications. She doesn't need her parents anymore. Like that.
Was that your idea, Brendan, or was that hers?
Oh, that was definitely her idea.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what FAFSA was.
Yeah. Okay.
And I was like, oh yeah. I mean, and I was in the perspective of like, somebody wants to marry me. Like during my childhood, like I thought the trajectory of my life was going to be playing video games in my mom's basement alone. Like that was the vision I had for the future when I was a child. It's like, I'm going to be alone for the rest of my life. So like, oh wow, somebody's interested in being in a relationship with me. Yeah, cool. Like,
so that idea was not a happy one. I'm playing video games in my mum's basement for the rest of my life.
It was completely neutral. I didn't think anything good about. This is just what it is. There's nothing to be happy or sad about. It's just
cool.
It's just reality. Because I'd come from a family situation of neglect and aloneness, and then I was at school and I was fat and shamed and made fun of and alone. I didn't have a lot of friends, and the friends that I did have, I just didn't really connect with or feel. I didn't have relationships for a long time until high school, and then I was super lucky that those people reached out to me. They like I used to have a chain wallet.
It explains so much.
To say
it doesn't, listener. You can't see the fact that I'm doing a silly laugh.
To say that it's a chain wallet is to way understate it.
Okay.
It went through an evolution. So it started with just a typical chain wallet. It was like the 8 inches of silver chain that like the links are like 3/8 of an inch or whatever, just like small little chains. And then I think I saw like a zoot suit or whatever that had like the 3 layers of chains. And so I got an extra chain that went longer, and then a third chain that went longer than that. And so then I had these like this chain decoration on the side of and then I was like, that's not good enough. And so I went to Home Depot. I think there was a one before this, but then I went to Home Depot, and like you go, if you ever drive like by a used car lot or something, and they have those big, huge honking chain links that are like 1.5 inches thick. And
dude, I bought a bike chain.
Oh, yeah.
That is basically a motorbike chain.
Yeah.
Thick boy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's like 3/8 to a 1/2 inch thick of the thing, and then the whole link is like 1.5 inches wide, and these ones were coated in this bright orange paint, and I had about 2 feet of it. I used like a climbing D-clip to my pants, and then attached it to my wallet, and I was rattling around like Marley's ghost. Like it was hilarious.
That must have not done any good for your back, for your like
probably not.
Good grief.
Yeah. And then what was kind of funny is because my pants would sag because I didn't have a butt.
Yeah.
But like without the chains, with the chains, it would pull it off it would pull my pants so far down to one side that it would kind of like pinch them. It was almost like wearing a belt, just by a slanted belt. Why the hell oh yeah. So when I went to see Mest.
I love you so much.
At, I can't remember the venue name. In Portland, I saw Mest with a couple friends, pop punk band, and this girl grabbed my chain. She was pulling my chain. And
hey, she's yanking your chain, man.
She's yanking my chain. And I was so surprised. I was just like, wait, so somebody sees me? Wait, I'm here? I'm a physical being in the world, and I make an impact on other people? Complete news to me. Like, I thought I was I was literally walking around with this rattly chain, and nobody paid attention to me. And except for my choir teacher. She was like, "You and your chains. Can you quiet them a little bit while we're singing?"
I used to work in a co-working space briefly while I was running Podiant, and there was a woman who used to walk around with these giant jangly bangles.
Oh yeah.
Just walking around, just cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. Yes, sweetheart, we all know you're here. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
yeah. So I grew up with this feeling of like nobody's going to want me, and then it was really easily be manipulated into getting into the marriage. Anyway, backtracking, I wanted to have some kind of gut check that I was doing the right thing and not moving too fast, and like everything seemed fucking perfect with Margaret to me from the inside, and I'm like, is it perfect to everybody else?
Yeah, because I know sometimes I ask for permission to follow something that I really want because I'm like, feel like this is really good. I need to, like, what am I not seeing?
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
Yeah. I'm like, what are my blind spots here? And so, there's traditionally to ask the father's hand in marriage, and I'm not traditional. So I decided to ask all of my families and friends, and I asked them to do it in a way that they would take a video of themselves answering these questions, and I would put the video together and chop it up, and then I made that into a video that I showed Margaret when I proposed to her, and so she got to see all of her friends and family being like, "Yeah, you two should get married. It's great." And then I asked her, and it was, it worked. I'm so glad it worked.
God damn right it worked. It's working on me.
We were watching The Bachelor at the time, and
how do you transition?
During that time of our lives when I proposed.
Oh, sure.
We were engaged in watching.
Like, I'm just going to throw airplay this real quick.
No. And then, but we'd taken a trip down to Yachats, which is a beach town here near Portland, and it's about 3 or 4 hours drive down, and it's a really rocky coastline where the water's splashing up like 10 feet up in the air all around you because it's just the way that the water comes in. It's really beautiful, and it's fun to walk on. And we'd been there for her birthday a couple years prior and had a great time, and then so we went back, and I had the ring. I was going to propose, and I was like, "Hey, babe, we're getting kind of tired. Let's take a seat." And I had this video on The Bachelor I wanted to show you, and in my head I was
best
thinking,
fake out ever.
she completely knew. She was like, "That's ridiculous. You never show me a video about the bat. This is ridiculous."
I'm having flashbacks to. No, you didn't get it, Brendan.
Yeah. I get that reference. No, you don't.
Yeah, no, you don't.
Yeah, no, she always knows. She always knows, but she loved it anyway.
There is that difference, like I said, like seeking permission versus validation. Because I think you didn't need validation. It sounded like you needed maybe that sense check, or like, I don't know. I even wonder if that's actually what do you think what you needed, or were you? Do you think you were already set and you just wanted people to like back you?
I wasn't expecting anybody to say no.
No.
I thought it was a pretty sure bet.
Yeah,
but that was kind of exactly the point. Is I thought it was a sure bet, and so maybe I'm really missing something. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe people have some questions about me, and I feel like I'm simultaneously really great and really weird. Like yeah.
That wasn't me. Sorry, listener. I nodded. Not because I think Brendan is really weird. I can understand someone who thinks they are really weird, because that's a language I speak. But also, I was nodding in yes, I get you.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. I try to do things really well. I try to think about people, but I miss things because I think differently.
You're a person.
I mean, sure. Also, there's that, but like, I I don't have a lot of the same traditional thought patterns, I feel like, as a lot of people. And so, I know I can kind of like put people off.
So I think, if I'm thinking about going into another person's friend/family group, I get that completely, I think. Because, you want to be like, listen, if this happens, sure, if things don't pan out, you'll get custody of her, obviously, or she'll get custody of you.
Yeah.
But like, are you in? Like I get that thing of like, like, not is this a good idea, but like, do I get your blessing? Like, I think that's really I like that, because I think the blessing has to come from so many different places, because there's
because I'm not just entering Margaret's life, I'm entering all their lives too. Yeah.
There's someone I knew, I've only known them since they've been married, and I never knew them before, or at least not to my knowledge. Yeah, in fact, I've only known them since they've been married, and I really like one of the people and think they're great. And the other person's just not like a bad person, but just a like a well actually kind of person, and a comment guy, and just I had to stop hanging around because they were winding me up so much, because they just pushed my buttons, not necessarily meaning to. It's just they played with the same buttons that with everybody, but for me it was just like, would you just undermine me one more time, gainsay me one more time, motherfucker, and I will shake my fist at you so much. And so, like, you want to know, like, if you're going into a new relationship, like, am I the douchebag? Like, am I the douchebag husband here? Or are we simpatico? Are you still going to hang out and not tolerate, not do so because you tolerate me because you want to hang out with them? Like, all of that stuff that is implicit in that question.
I'm currently on a dopamine fast. Actually, no, I'm on a dopamine diet. I'm not fasting from it. I want to do a dopamine fast at some point. I think that would be a good thing to try out. I'm just not ready to do that at the moment.
I don't know if that's a good thing to try out.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Because I think the problem is not the dopamine. The problem is the seeking of the dopamine. Yeah. And I think that's habitual. I think we need dopamine.
Of course. And I would still get it even if I didn't, like, I can't actually turn off the spigot.
No,
but I could.
One would hope not.
Yeah.
Nor should you, like, just deny yourself through some, like, prurient sense of, like... I was out with my parents last week, and we were doing e-bike things because they finally got theirs.
Oh wow!
And it took months, but they finally got theirs. And we went for a bit of a cycle, and it was great. And my mum was having fun. It was always lovely to hear. Like, my mum is not a stern lady, but she doesn't allow herself a lot of fun. She gets fun. She understands what fun is, but she doesn't allow herself necessarily that much. Yeah. And that's a distinction, I think, that you come to later in life to realize, oh no, she totally gets what fun is, and she has a very good sense of it. She's kind of mean to herself sometimes. So we got off the bikes, and she was like, that was brilliant, and I love having the power assist. I'm only going to use it when I really need to, like, and like already kind of like wagging a finger at herself. And I was just like, mother, you can not, like, motherfucker. Yeah. Mother, you can enjoy, you can just enjoy. You've got a nice thing. You can just enjoy it. It's okay. Like, you don't have to, well, I'm not allowed to enjoy this. Like, you bought the thing, enjoy it. Like, it's just, why the need for this? You're
still outside. You're still pedaling. You're still like, it's fine.
Like, it's okay for things to just be for pleasure as well, just for fun. And it's okay for things to be easy, which certain generations don't necessarily get, because if it's easy, then it's not valuable. Yeah, because I think when it comes to dopamine, like, yeah, trying to deny yourself out of some kind of, no, I must avoid joy. It's the loop, I think, that's the tricky thing. It's like that ever tightening loop I think I talked about before, like as if I've got like this bank of ideas that like are really important ideas. I think I referenced this in chapter 7 of my book. I think, yeah, you can get into this like ever tightening spiral. The loop shortens between the seeking and the reward.
Yeah.
Because it's like it's almost as if like neural pathways are naturally spirals. They naturally curve. And as you keep walking the path,
I like that image.
They just spiral in and in and in and in. And I think lots of addictive behavior comes from that. And I think what we have to do, and I'm in the process of having a similar discussion myself, dude, not from dopamine, but from other things, is find a gentle way to walk that path in reverse, to unspool the spiral rather than try and rip it out wholesale. Yeah. That's my take.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense to me. And partially why I didn't jump into the dopamine fast and just did a bit of a diet.
So what does it look like for you then?
It's mostly porn and masturbation related.
Cool.
Yeah.
Such an American to be able to just say it's mostly porn and masturbation related. Sorry, Americans are usually given to slightly more directness than others, even with the puritanical side that like people like you don't necessarily have, but like other people do have. There is still a American directness which I appreciate. Well, no, it's these things.
Yeah, because I'm still playing my game. I'm still listening to music and watching shows and things that help me relax. Yeah, man, music is so fucking hard to give up. I just can't. Oh
my god! What? Yeah. What would you want to? Don't do that.
Brendan, no. Yeah, I'm not doing it. I am thinking about it. That's true, but like I am like I just there's like a wanting and a craving and I don't know. I'm just trying to get a handle on my body and my feelings. I'm like.
Yeah.
And so sometimes it feels good to not have the thing that I really want. I don't always have to get it.
Yes. I think that is... Yes.
Yeah. It's tricky. But
speak more on that, Brendan.
Yeah. I don't even... Like, I mean, I've experienced a lot of that sensation with food fasting. And that's been super beneficial for me in different ways. And I'm still... wanting to engage in that world a lot. Like right now, my daily habit, I'm just doing an intermittent fast. It's like kind of like eating from noon to 6 is my goal. I usually go a little bit past that in the evening, and I haven't done a multi-day fast in a while, but I miss it. I like going back. I like having that experience. It's an easy challenge. Easy isn't maybe the right word, but it's like it's a satisfying challenge.
Satisfying, not necessarily the word, but I know you can relish it. It's a challenge you can relish.
Yeah, and it's a challenge I can accomplish, and it has a relatively immediate benefit, which it fills the dopamine centers, of course. But like, yeah, so that's funny. But yeah, so I've told you before about this men's book club I'm hosting at my place, and we're reading the book Men's Work by Connor Beaton, and in it, like, we just got to the chapter on porn, and he suggests doing a porn hiatus for a month.
Okay,
and
I think that's edging.
It's not quite. Well, I mean, yeah, I get what you mean. And honestly, this month, it's only been a week. Has it even been a week? No. This less than a week has been, and not even because of the lack of porn. And I have more to say about that, but like, I've also just been taking a break from masturbation. Kind of not because I need porn to masturbate at all. Before this, I had a very healthy, I feel, with and without porn masturbation ritual. Kind of like my normal was to like, I would heat up the sauna, and then I would do yoga for 45 minutes, stretching out my body, sometimes with like, I don't care. Like I'm saying this, I don't really care if it's out there, but I would put in a butt plug while I'm doing my yoga, and or maybe like a cock strap and stuff. And like, it was fun to feel the stretches, you know, in all the different ways. And then I would get myself in the sauna, and I would get all nice and sweaty, and put on some like meditation music or dance music, depending on how I was feeling, and enjoy touching myself in different ways and finding so many levels of pleasure and experience through that. And it was magical. Sometimes I use porn, not always. And I definitely, over the past few years, like I used to, Pete Holmes has a bit on one of his specials, like from like 5 or 6 years ago, where he was watching porn and he was going down the rabbit hole of like, oh, you watch this thing and then something's linked to that and it's even grosser, and then something linked to that and it's even grosser, and it just keeps going down this spiral of disgusting depravity. And then you climax during this thing that you don't actually like, and it's like, and his punchline was like, not worth it, you know, like kind of like oh, like I'm coming but I hate it, like kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And I've been there years ago, and the stuff I watch now when I do is much more like a couple that is actually people that like each other, and they're having normal sex, and it's not like just it's not a production, it's not some by a production company, it's just like people that are just having sex. And it doesn't get, you know, gross. It doesn't spiral.
It's wholesome sex.
Yeah, it's wholesome. Yeah. And so I never feel that way anymore. I never feel like, oh my God, I can't believe I masturbated to that or anything like that. It just feels like, oh, this is just natural. It's just people. Anyways.
I try not to live in that space too much. Yes.
Yeah.
No. Yep. Carry on.
Do you want to finish your thought?
Nope.
Yeah, it'll be funny to see what the edit comes out on this episode.
Yeah.
I'm not watching porn, and I also in the book, it was like, stop watching porn. You can consider not masturbating as well. And I was like, well, you know, we're trying a thing. We're going through a process. We're experimenting here. You know, why don't I just do the full thing? Why don't I try not masturbating? And I've not masturbated for many periods of my life before. Like in my previous marriage, masturbation was outlawed because with or without porn, it was considered cheating. And
listener, I made a face that can be described as rank incredulity.
Yeah. And man, it was so fucking ridiculous too, because so
mate, I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So I was known as an addict in the relationship, and there were times where she would see me as succumbing to being an addict and not succumbing to be an addict, and she would call me Addie as a nickname, as a diminutive nickname of like, oh, you're acting out now, you're in this addict mode. And the thing is that it was so frustrating, and I could never tell her because of the horrible backlash that would happen. Absolutely. At least in my mind, like I never told her, so I never found out, but I knew, I knew intrinsically this is what happened. But like, whenever she called me Addie was the time that I was trying so hard to do everything that she wanted. And I was not masturbating, and I was not getting that release. I was not getting that dopamine. I was pent up and disgruntled and angry, and I had all this stuff that I couldn't get out. And so I was agitated, and I was weird and not doing things great. And then she would think I was masturbating and hiding behind her back and doing all these things. And then the times when I was going behind her back and relieving myself, I had this calm. I had this just like relief and release. And she was like, "Oh, things are going really great now. I'm really glad that you're being so, you're doing everything I'm asking for and everything." And I could never tell her like, "No, you've got it backwards." Like, because I couldn't admit that I had been doing things behind her back. I always had to lie about that, which felt awful. I was lying constantly.
I was going to ask about that. Yeah, the guilt. Not that I'm suggesting you should feel a single iota of guilt.
Yeah, no, I don't. I don't feel guilty,
but I can imagine.
Yeah, it didn't feel good.
Yeah,
and it was constantly this second life I had to maintain and hide.
I remember a conversation in, I don't know, maybe 2018. About addiction, and you were diving deep into trying to understand your own potential addiction, and we were both talking about the realm of the hungry ghosts.
Yeah, Gabor Mate.
I remember how much that was a thing for you at the time.
Yep. Gabor Mate and Craig Natkin had a really good book, The Addictive Personality. That really resonated for me. Because it was helpful to shine a light on the fact that addiction doesn't have to just be with substances. Like that was so in the world that I was viewing, and what I still see a lot, pretty often, is that like people, even still in me, like I think about this all the time. Even I'm going to my refuge recovery meetings, and I still think like a challenge of addiction from a substance, whether it's alcohol or cigarettes or hard drugs or whatever, like that's the real addiction. And these behavioral addictions are just like, yeah, we call it addiction too, but like it's not as hard or whatever. No, it's just as hard.
Food addiction is not a thing.
Exactly, and and I feel like whenever I talk like out loud to the group, whenever I'm doing a sharing, I feel like I have to couch it. I have to like, it's like, yeah, I know you all are going through your own things, but I'm struggling with sugar, and it feels ridiculous. It feels like on both sides of it. It feels ridiculous to say like I'm being silly that I have this problem with sugar and with caffeine and food. And then it also feels ridiculous that I have to say that, because of course these products, they're not even food, they're products, are engineered to get us to eat it as much as possible. So we spend that money to make profit for those companies. Like that's what we're fighting against.
I'm going to ask a question that I'm sure you've probably been asked or asked yourself many a time. So feel free to roll your eyes. Do you think that you are more addicted to those substances than the average person?
Not rolling my eyes, because this is not a question I really have considered much. I tend not to compare myself to the average person. It
sounds to me like you're holding yourself to a... Well, I'm wondering if you are holding yourself to a much higher standard.
But the definition of addiction is doing something that you... this isn't the exact definition, but my sure. recounting of it is doing something that you don't want to do in some fashion, and you do it anyway, and it harms some part of your life, whether it's work, social, family, other, like it's harmful to you in some way, and you don't want to do it, and you still do it anyway. And that's completely me with food.
The don't want to do it bit. I mean, we could just be getting into semantics there, but yes.
But like knowing it's harmful for me and doing it anyway, and
yes, absolutely. That I completely completely.
I don't want to gain weight. I don't want to bring back my health issues. I don't want the gross feeling 15 minutes after I finish the thing, and yet I still want them so bad. Going to the grocery store and walking past the aisle of cakes and seeing that tiramisu there and just being like, I could have that in my mouth in a few minutes. I could just eat it all up. And I want to do that all the time. But
what's interesting there for me to explore? What stopped you? Just indulge me in a stupid question because I'm interested to see where it goes. You spy that tiramisu, and you're like, I want that in my mouth. Yeah. I could have that in my mouth now.
I sure could.
What stops you reaching out and just snarfling it right there from the aisle?
My desire to lose weight and feel better in my body, and I mean right then and there, ripping open the packet and diving in. Yeah, that exactly. I consciously think about my long-term goals.
When you weren't thinking about your long-term goals and you saw that tiramisu and you were like, what would happen then?
I mean, part of, I wouldn't scarf it down there only because there's also pleasure in the anticipation. And so putting it in the cart and walking around with it and knowing that I have it and I'm going to eat it in a few minutes, like that, there's a ritual and a process and everything for that. And so that was part of the enjoyment for sure. It prolongs the feeling of like, oh, I'm gonna get something. I'm gonna get away with something. I'm just gonna. It builds and makes the ultimate eating of it that much more. Yeah, you get it. The O face. I've got to open my mouth to eat. Oh,
now I feel terrible about myself. Yes, the circle of life.
The worst part with foods that I know are bad for me is that they don't. The ones that don't make me feel bad afterwards, like the tiramisu cake. Honestly, every time I had it, which I had it quite often, did not make me feel bad, and that was like, fuck, I'm never gonna get past this because this feels too good. But I did. I eventually did. A couple weeks ago, I finally got back on my shit.
Yes.
Still trying to so I read, I told you about this book, Ultra Processed People by Chris Van Teleken. Yeah. Oh, fucking great book. I just watched an interview with him yesterday about the book, and it makes me want to, I think I'm going to listen to it again today. The book. And part of his process is like, I'm not going to, I'm not trying to tell you not to eat the stuff. Actually,
I'm just telling you what it is.
Instead, I actually want you to eat that stuff while you're reading this book. Like, maybe even do what's very common is like 80% of the calories you intake are ultra processed foods. Like that's an experiment he did for a couple months or whatever. And like eat that stuff while you learn about it. And then through the process of learning while you're eating it and you're feeling it and everything, it turns gross. It turns disgusting. And it turns you off of it. And it's a way to like make something click. Because if you just learn about it separately, it doesn't. It's like cognitive. Like in your mind that it's bad, but you're not like feeling it. And if you're just told like don't eat it, like that doesn't help at all. Yep. It just makes you want to defy and all the rest. But if you indulge in it and learn about it at the same time, it seems to have some magical effect. And it did a little bit. Like in some way, like I still have. I had a decaf coffee this morning, and I know what that does to me. And like I know how it disrupts my sleep. Only if I like have it past like 1 p.m. usually, but
yeah. And
it's still a couple hours from then. But yeah, I still fucking like it. I want it. Mm-hmm. Anyways, so I stopped masturbating, and
just now.
Yeah, I had it out, but no, I put it away, and that's gross.
I have to tell you. So you said. You were talking about, and I had a sort of a joke or a comment or something. I nearly said out loud, and it's the most puerile, profane thing I might have ever thought or said.
Amazing.
And it just made me laugh because I think I do have as much as I don't export it. I definitely import it in terms of like that kind of puerile humor. I just had a whole thing about like the problem with food and masturbation is just cum makes the food taste horrible, and I just had something like that in my brain, and it was just it wouldn't go away.
That's amazing. Yeah, we don't need that extra icing.
No, I was once so when I used to get when I first went to therapy or counselling, the building that I was in, the toilet there had an A4 printed thing, and it was an admonishment or request for people to stop putting wadded up chewing gum in the urinals.
Okay, yeah, sure.
And it was in 3 parts, and it was something like, it was like, please stop putting used chewing gum in the in the urinals. A, it clogs up the urinals. B, it makes it hard to clean, whatever. 3, it tastes of wee. And I just thought, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's so good. Like, there are so many crappy admonishing signs everywhere that tell you to do this or do that. But that killer third line, I just thought, that is... And every time I went, I was so happy to see that.
Yeah.
Because it tastes of wee. It's so... It's so
That's
good.
delightful. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm finding this week hard.
Yeah. Oh,
where like I'm typically in my normal, I feel like I'm a very sexually driven person. It's really important to me. And what I've noticed, like I've known this, but what I've noticed in this feeling, I've like consciously thinking about how I'm feeling as I'm not masturbating, and when that feeling of wanting to masturbate comes up, what are the feelings around it? What am I feeling beforehand? Like, what's driving me to that feeling? And in the book, they're like, is it because you're stressed? Is it because you're sad or angry? Or is it because you're lonely or a bunch of other options? And what I realized for me is that it's not any of those things. It's not those negative things I'm trying to escape. I have, and sometimes do feel like I want to escape. I feel like I want just a good feeling, like and in the past, especially when I had fibromyalgia, I used masturbation. I used that dopamine, those chemical release, for the function of pain relief. Like I would do it so I would feel better physically because my body was in so much pain. I don't have to do that anymore, which is great. But what I'm noticing now is like I do it because I like it. Like, it's an enjoyable experience. It's one of the reasons why I like living. Like, it's one of my favorite things to do is sex and masturbation and the bodily experience. Yeah.
Sort of the point.
Exactly. That's what a thing that I've been thinking too. Like, this is the point. This is, and to go along with, my revelations from mushrooms is like, the point is anything that you want to do. Like, you're here to have the human physical experience in this physical realm. Like, yeah, do it, do it all. Like, it's nothing's bad here. There's no shame. I mean, also experience shame. That's also part of it too, but go for it. And so, I'm going to go through this experience. I'm going to keep analyzing myself and see if there's more. Cause also I'm like, is that just like when a drinker gives up drinking in the first week, they're like, yeah, I don't do it because I'm addicted to it. I don't do it because I need to quell my fears and anxieties and stuff. I do it because I drink it because I like it. Because I'm aware that could be the case. I like, so I'm going to keep going with the experience and not just all that. But it's been a challenging week.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But I applaud you for ever trying to make a better Brendan. I just hope that you are not making a better Brendan for anyone other than Brendan, because Brendan's the one who gets to consume that Brendan.
Yeah, for sure. No, it's all for me. I'm really selfish in that way.
Yeah.
It's all about me.
Good.
Well, this has been lovely, Mark. Thanks for telling me about your cool new project and hearing.
Thanks for telling me about your wiener.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And as always, correct me if I'm wrong.